Good day, Kaviba, and welcome to our Learn at Home Facebook Live. For the discussion today, the topic will be on an introduction to open educational resources. Before we begin, take note of the following reminders. Make sure you are registered to the webinar to have your e-certificate of participation. Visit certificate.vibalgroup.com to generate your proof of attendance. Share the video using hashtag LearnAs1PH as our official hashtag to our Vibal webinars. Experience Good day, Kaviba, and welcome to our Learn at Home Facebook Live. For the discussion today, the topic will be on an introduction to open educational resources. Before we begin, take note of the following reminders. Make sure you are registered to the webinar to have your e-certificate of participation. Visit certificate.vibalgroup.com to generate your proof of attendance. Share the video using hashtag LearnAs1PH as our official hashtag to our Vibal webinars. Experience learning ka Vibal! And now, to proceed with our webinar this evening, it is my pleasure to introduce to you our distinguished speaker today. Ang ating tagapagsalita sa araw na ito ay isang guro mula sa kolehiyo ng Malalayang Sining ng De La Salle University, Manila. Nagtapos siya mula sa pamantasan ng lungsod ng Maynila at nabigyan ng pagkakataong makapag-aral sa Genesis 2.0, Social Community Course sa Japan sa ilalim ng National Youth Commission of the Philippines at Japan International Cooperation Center noong taong 2015. Nagtapos din siya ng kursong Master ng Sining sa Araling Filipino, Wika, Kultura at Media mula sa De La Salle University, Manila at ginawaran ng Outstanding Masteral Thesis ng Departamento. May malawak siyang karanasan sa pagtuturo at pagsasalita patungkol sa edukasyon, kultura, kasarian at humanidades. Kasalukuyan siyang bahagi ng pambansang tagapagsanay para sa Senior High School Core Subjects mula sa Private Education Assistance Committee o PEAC. Mga kaibigan, pasalubungan po natin ng palakpakan si Eldrin Jan D, Cabilin.
Maraming salamat, Vibal. Good evening, Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao, and even across the borders. Magandang gabi po sa inyong lahat. Thank you for welcoming me back here in the loop to discuss pertinent topic about our present educational character. To all our viewers, our parents, guardians, teachers, and students, I hope you can pick up to harvest something in tonight's discussion. Of course, this webinar will not be possible without the undying effort of Vibal, kaya maraming salamat, Vibal. Join us, mga ka-Vibal, in this half an hour discussion. Do not forget to like and share the Vibal page and our discussion video for tonight so that together we can hashtag LearnAs1PH and hashtag Learn at Home. Our topic is entitled An Introduction to Open Educational Resources, or the OER. Right? So, the concept of the OER, or the Open Educational Resources, is not new anymore to most of our teachers, to most of our administrators in different schools, in different colleges and universities, simply because this was introduced in the latter year of the 2000. And so, now that we are in this medical condition, in this health condition due to the COVID-19, everybody was forced to shift, and everybody was forced to use and utilize all the resources that we have in the virtual space or in the virtual world. And so as teachers, we need to continue to develop and inform ourselves with regards to these technological resources and to this technological innovation aligned to the educational needs that we have right now. And remember, this educational technology call has been mainstream ever since then. But due to some limitations with regards to the resources, to the training of the teachers, there is a small percentage wherein we see that this particular school or university or colleges is gearing into the use of educational technology with regards to their teaching learning process. But again, everybody was forced, particularly in this school year 2020-2021, that is last year, to shift everything virtually, right? And so we had our modality into a flexible learning modality, wherein there is the combination now of the technological setup and of course the old setup that we have in the old normal. And so in this topic of an introduction to OER, or open educational resources, I'll just give you a short glimpse on the concept of what is what is open educational resources? What is the benefit of using and utilizing the OER now that we are in this setup, now that we are in this need, wherein our need is a must to us as teachers and as educators. And later on, at the end of my discussion, I will be suggesting to you and presenting to you websites or sites wherein you can access uh, you can access freely, no? Because these are mostly free open educational resources that you can utilize for a successful and meaningful teaching learning process, both for our learners and our teachers, of course. All right. So let us start our discussion of the introduction to the OER, or the Open Educational Resources. The great scientist Albert Einstein once said that it has become appallingly obvious that our technology has succeeded our humanity, and we cannot deny the fact that our day-to-day living is greatly anchored, mostly anchored to the technological advancement that we have. It's very obvious that day by day there is an increase, a rapid increase, the rapid innovation in the technological sphere, right? From the kitchen tools that we have, from the car tools that we have, from the computer to the laptop, and to all other parts of our endeavor in day-to-day living, there is an obvious technological advancement and innovation. Why? Because in year 2000, several technological advancements were introduced. Say, for example, we had then in 2000, back in 2000, the very first camera phone uh, coming from Japan, the J phone, or the JSH04. Then in the same year, the Honda has introduced to us the advanced step in innovative mobility, or popularly known as the ASIMO, as the very first humanoid robot um, that was used, of course, to help human endeavors. And then in the same year, we had the USB flash drive. And it comes into different shapes, sizes, and of course, colors as time goes on. In the same year, year 2000, the Sony company releases the PlayStation 2. And now, if I'm not mistaken, the latest version of the PS, or the PlayStation, is now on its fifth version. In 2001, the Apple company has introduced to us the iPod, right? And in the next year, year 2002, we had now the very first Bluetooth headset. And of course, as time goes by, the Apple company continue to persevere with regards to technological advancement. And so they have introduced in year 2007 the very first smartphone, called as the iPhone, from the Apple company. And so if you take a look at the timeline of these equipments, gadgets that I am presenting to you, there is a rapid propagation of technological advancement in the world that we are living, right? And so we as teachers, we in the educational sphere, in an educational landscape, it's very important and imperative for us to ask this particular question. How is the development and in technology, particularly in media and internet, going to be used in educational landscape? And what are we going to do about it? And so many of our educational experts see one of the tool, or one of the advancement that we can introduce into this setup that we have, into this propagating technological advancement that we have, particularly in internet and in media, is the introduction of the what we call the OER, or the open educational resources. Now, the open educational resources is not new, as what I have mentioned with you. It's not new to all of us, because what teachers and students, both the teachers and student, has been utilizing for the past years virtually, can be accounted to the concept of what we call the OER, or the open educational resources, right? Why? Because the UNESCO in year 2000, they first made a formal definition and made a formal presentation of what is an open educational resources. And according to UNESCO, they define open educational resources, or the OER, as any educational resources that are openly available for use by both the educators and the students. I'd like to highlight the term educational resources. And so if these resources is for educational purpose, then most likely this is free for the utilization or for the use of both the teacher or the educator and the students without an accompanying need to pay royalties or license fees. But of course, these are all intellectual properties. Not all open educational resources are free to public. There are some OER who has a low or minimal cost for them to access, or before they can utilize that particular resources or material. And what is this educational resources that I am referring to you according to the UNESCO? So some of the educational example or educational resources that we can find in an open educational resources are as follows. We have of course, the course modules. Now that we are in a last school year 2020, 2021, I presume that most of our schools really made their very best to produce alternative learning materials in a form of module, in a form of modular activity, since of course not all our learners are into the online setup. Not all our learners has the capability to access the internet, or they have the gadget. And so, with regards to the principle or to the mantra of the Department of Education, which is all about no student left behind, and so we must, of course, think of the parallel activity that we can still target the same learning competency relative to the Department of Education's issuance of the most essential learning competency. No, even if the student is on a modular approach or in a modular setup, they can still acquire the minimum standard enshrined under the most essential learning competency that the department has issued to us. So what I am referring here is that both the online learning, the learning competency that the learners are into the online learning, and those learners that are into modular approach or into modular setup of uh, learning setup must of course have the equal acquisition of the learning competency. Remember that. That's very important. Either they choose or they opt to have it in offline or in an online setup. So teachers created different materials, alternative learning materials in the form of modules. Then of course we can have also under the open educational resources different syllabi or syllabus, lectures, homework assignments, different lab and classroom activities, different pedagogical materials, games for our learners to motivate them, especially now that we are in an online setup, and we will still be in the online setup as announced by the government and by the Department of Education. We will still be pursuing into 100% online in a flexible learning environment or flexible learning setup, since a very small number of the Philippine population percentage has been vaccinated. So we will still be in a online setup. So we teachers has the role and duty to motivate our learners, even if they will still be into the online learning, right? So games are important. Then simulations, wherein they will be wearing a different hat. They can wear the hat of a teacher. They can wear the hat of a legislator, of a barangay captain, or whatever the simulation activity you have, and many more resources contained in the digital media collections from around the world used to support, of course, the access to knowledge. Remember, The very purpose why we are using the open educational resources is for our teachers and learners to use it and utilize it in the acquisition of learning. More than anything else, we want them to have a meaningful and successful acquisition of learning. And when we said learning, learning can only happen if there is a new acquisition of the understanding, behavior, knowledge, and skills, and that will, of course, yield a relative permanent change. That is how we define learning to our learners. And so in year 2000, the open educational resources are used to support educational transformation. But as time goes on, of course, change is something that is inevitable, and so, in the present landscape that we have, the open educational resources are now deemed as a must. It's not just a support anymore, but it is a necessity to all of us. It's a must in, of course, the successful attainment of educational transformation. And so, teachers, I hope that you are still here with us. You are in the loop of looking into the possibility of uh, of widening your perspective in the utilization of different technological materials that we have under the open educational resources. Again, if in 2000, the OER are deemed to be as an educational support for educational transformation, then at the present period that we have, now that we are in a medical condition, we are in a strict medical condition, the OER is now deemed as a necessity. It is a must for, of course, the successful attainment of the educational transformation. And of course, it's very important that we must also be careful as we look into the different educational resources that we are looking or that we are utilizing in the virtual space. No? Remember, as what I've mentioned based on the definition of the OER are all materials in the public domain. The definition, of course, of the open educational resources includes the phrase that it resides in the public domain or have been released under an open license that permits no cost, access, use, adaptation, and the redistribution by others with no or limited restrictions. But what does it really mean? What does it really mean when a material or a resources is in a public domain? All right. So this time, I'd like to um, to place your attention into this slide. As you can see, we have here three columns. And each columns provides us the concept of what we call the copyright, the publication domain, and the CC, or the what we call the Creative Commons. So let me now discuss to you one by one what is the difference of this copyright, the public domain, and the creative domain. Every time, let's first discuss copyright. Every time a work is created, such as a textbook is written or a photograph is taken, that work is automatically protected by a copyright. Why? Because there is a source of that particular material, of that particular source. That's why it says here, all original work is protected under copyright as designated by the owner. There is the source, there is the owner of that particular material. Whether it's a video, it is a photo, it is a PowerPoint presentation, there is an owner to that. Right? And copyright protection prevents others from using the work in certain ways. Say, for example, by copying the work or putting the work online without the permission from the owner or from the creator. And this is called the all rights reserved. That's why if you notice, diba, at the end of the movie or at the end of our when we watch late night shows or telenovelas, soap operas, at the end of the episode, we find this particular statement, all rights reserved. Why? Because we cannot work cannot be adopted, copied, published, or used without the owner's permission. We have to ask the permission of the owner before we utilize it. So you have to be very careful also with regards to the copyright of the owner. Right? The second part is the public domain or the PD. When we said PD, this is the symbol for PD or the public domain. When does a work, the question is, when does a work becomes part of the public domain or the PD? When it is copyright, has expired, was forfeited, or is otherwise inapplicable. So these are some of the examples. If your work was published before 1923, work of a long dead owner, or when the owner's work designate as a public domain, that person specifically points that it is accessible for as public domain or as tag as public domain, then it falls under the no right reserve. This is most often occurs when the author, for example, of a creative work has been dead for many years. In addition, most of the resources created by the employees of the government, say for example, we want to access a particular bill in the website of the Philippine Senate, then it is part of the public domain. We can use it, we can utilize it, right? It recites automatically to the public domain. And these works have no rights reserved and can be used or by anyone with no restrictions, provided, of course, that we will be utilizing it for non-profit use. No, that's very important that when you use a particular material, you don't use it for your own benefit, especially if you will have some profit on it. That's a no-no. So we teachers we must abide carefully to this rule of the copyright and the public domain. Here, the work can be adopted, can be copied, can be published or used without the owner's permission. And of course, the CC or the Creative Commons, this is the symbol for that. Alternatively, when the creator or the copyright holder assigns an open license to their work, they are specifically or specifying how they want others to use it. So there has a clear distinction of how you should use this particular item. And most of what we see in the net falls under the Creative Commons. Open licensing does not replace copyright. Right? So the open license work with copyright to promote the shared use. And this changes the copywriting from all rights reserved to some rights reserved. Why? Because here in the Creative Commons, any work that owners have chosen to be designated as the Creative Commons can be or may be used without the permission, but as per the rule specified by the owner. So there is a specific utilization for that material before you can use it. So the owner or the creator of that particular material, for example, an illustration, an image, a video, may specifically warn you or has some rules and regulations on how you can adopt it and how you can use it. Right? So again, even if the open educational resources can be accessed freely, is open to public, there are still some restrictions under the copyright, the public domain, and of course the Creative Commons. What's the bottom line of all of it? We teachers must be very careful in the utilization of the OER. Of course, we have to show respect to the owner or to the creator of that particular material. Right? So this time, let's go to the benefits of an educational resources. Actually, there are several benefits that I can present to you, but these are the top of the list on the benefits of an open educational resource. Number one, it can save costs for our students. Why? Because normally an open educational resources is open and free for access to our teachers and to our students, or they can only have it at a minimal or low cost. And one of the example of a low cost material which can be accessed in an OER if you try to connect with Vibal Group they have created a material, an educational resource material, which we called as the Learn at Home kits. So this is a supplementary material for our learners, for our parents, and for our teachers, where you can access different academic books, activity sheets, test booklets, supplements, and a teach at home guide for our parents and teachers at a minimal or a low cost for you, of course, to help in a successful, for our learners, for a successful learning, and for our teachers and parents, for a successful teaching process to your child or to our students. So if you are interested with this low cost of Learn at Home kit, then I suggest that you call Vibal for more information with regards to the Learn at Home kits that they have created. And if I'm not wrong, the Learn at Home kit has a free trial wherein the learners and the teachers can access freely, no, and openly these Learn at Home kits for a certain period of time for your free trial. So I would like you to connect or to contact Vibal to know more about these Learn at Home kits. Right? The second benefit that I'd like to give you on the top of the list is that the OER are customizable. And when we said customizable, you can tailor fit depending upon your learners, depending upon your needs, depending on the resources that you have. Um, an open educational resource has that what we call 5 R's. Since it's customizable, it has the principle of the 5 R's. So what are the 5 R's under the open ER? So we have, of course, number one, retain. Here you can keep your work forever and can be accessed anytime, everywhere by the teachers or anybody who needs it. All right, researchers or whosoever who need that particular work. Why? Because you can keep it forever. Number two R is reuse. You can use the work for your own purpose. Okay, you can reuse it. Third, of course, you can revise it. You can do some adaptation, modification, or translation to your work, especially with regards to examples. Of course, as time goes on, um, change examples depending on the phenomenon that we have in our society uh, is of course changing. There are changes in terms of the events happenings with regards to the historical setup that we have. Then so there is also a need for you to revise. So that's one of the characteristic of the open ER under the 5 R's. You can revise it. The next R is remix. You can combine it with another resources to make a new work. Say, for example, you have your PowerPoint presentation on that particular website, and then you can include or indicate some of the documentaries. Now that we are into vlogging, you can also include vlogging. Or we have this latest photo coming from the NASA, then maybe you can combine it to the work that you have on your blog or on your vlog, then you see, you can remix your work under the open educational resources. And last, of course, redistribute. Here, you can share your work with a wider audience, with a wider number of learners, and with a wider number of researchers and educators. So here you see how beneficial and how good and how relevant and imperative the open educational resources for our teachers, especially we here in the Philippines who got a very limited open educational resources. But despite that, we see some development. That's good. That's one thing that's good. Despite the limitation that we have with regards to the OER, with respect to your own schools and to the one that we have in our local sites, it's also something noteworthy that there is development in our educational landscape. No? Even if it is a small percentage, we can still consider that as a progress and development. And we have to be optimistic with that. The third benefit is that with the OER, relative to the 5 R's that we have, this can be a good opportunity for both the teachers and the students and researchers to work into the principle of collaboration and cooperation. Why? Because here you are like curators. You curate your own educational resources with the inclusion of and integration of videos, PDF files, images, vlogs, so on and so forth. You can curate it, no, by adding the resources that is available at hand. You can also include ebooks, journals. It's up to you. So here you are the god of your own open educational resource. So it's a good opportunity not only for our teachers and students, but with respect also to other disciplines. No? For example, there is the combination or the collaboration of the mathematics subjects to the science subject, right? With respect to the performance task, I hope that your schools is into project merging, no, that shows the inter, the trans, and the multidisciplinary principle of one subject to other subjects. Say, for example, in the senior high school, to minimize the purpose of project merging or lumping the project of the learners is, of course, to minimize the output that they have to work into, especially now that we are in a difficult time. No, you can work together on one output with three subjects. Say, for example, on a particular output, we have understanding culture, society, and politics, together with contemporary arts in the Philippines, and together with the 21st century literature. So you can work on that collaboration and cooperation with other disciplines also. All right? And of course, the last one, I guess, is that with the use of the open educational resources, we are then developing with respect to the Bloom's digital taxonomy, we are developing the higher order thinking skills of our learners, right? From the Bloom's revised Bloom's taxonomy of remembering, understanding, applying, analyzing, evaluating, and creating. As what I've mentioned, there is really a need for us to shift into online setup, into an online learning, into an open educational resource. And so we have to use digital taxonomy to also develop and be aligned to the needs of lots to hats. From lower order thinking skill, from just bookmarking, copying and pasting what they have in the net, highlighting or searching it, then they can now create by blogging, but by podcasting, by collaborating on a particular Google slide just to create some presentation or video by creating a video audiovisual presentation. So that's very important that in these times, even if we are in a pandemic time, even if the corner of the four corner of the screen of the learners is what they can see with their laptop or their gadgets, we are still into the development of learners' higher order thinking skill more than anything else, right? Why? Because even if we are at home, we can find a lot of laboratories and activities, games, simulations in the OER that will, of course, help in the successful completion and fulfillment of the higher order thinking skills of our learners. So we have to take into consideration all of these things, right? And in this last part of my discussion, I will be now presenting to you some of the suggested OER for our teachers and students. And this time, this OER can be used for your research, especially in the gathering of data relative to the review of related literatures. I will be presenting to you journals, ebooks, thesis. For Normally they are written into English language, no. So for those research that are into Filipino in the utilization of Filipino language, you can still have it as your reference, right? Now, so one of the suggestion that I'd like to give to you is, of course, an open educational resource to all is the YouTube, and I'd like you to subscribe via Vibal TV, because in the Vibal TV, they got a lot of resources for teachers and parents and also students. with regards to the webinars, lectures they have there, they have mini lectures, no? They have the uh, the video of the live webinars, so you can go over it and you can share it to your class. As what you can see here on my screen, the Vibal TV has given us, we must be thankful to them because they have given us resources, educational resources that we can adopt, use in our class. And I guess this is and I know this is open and free to everybody, provided that you will be using it for educational purposes only. So I'd like you to go to Vibal TV and check, and of course subscribe their YouTube channel. Okay, so that's one of the good OER that I'd like to share to you. Second, if you want or if you are into research, especially our senior high school, college students, and our teachers, I know you are working on your action research. One of the good OER that I'd like to share to you is Library Genesis, wherein there are several, you see, several ebooks here which are free, which you can freely access. You can search uh, in the field of sciences, comics, scientific articles, standards, fictions, magazines. Why? Because this is a repository of different ebooks, and normally they are written in English. All right? But if you're into Filipino, use of Filipino language in your researches, for the intellectualization, of course, of the Filipino language, then I highly suggest that you can also use it and utilize it. Especially there are a lot of theories and frameworks that you can see from coming from these ebooks. That's the Library Genesis. You can access it at gen.lib.rus.ec. Okay? Next one, if you are into thesis and or dissertation writing, the University of the Philippines has its full text archives of thesis and dissertation. No, there are different categories. You can browse their full text archives of thesis and dissertation coming from the University of the Philippines. Right? So it's open to everybody. And again, it says here, it's public access to thesis, dissertation, and defense proceedings. A supplementary guideline for public access can also be, you can access it. I guess you have to sign up first. Even if you don't sign up, you can access the thesis and dissertation here in iskwiki.upd.edu.ph. So you can search it. Then another full text archives of thesis and dissertation coming from universities from Norway is the nora.openaccess.no. Right? So it offers a full archives of thesis and dissertation coming from Norway. This one is from universities in Netherlands. So the website is narcis.nl. There are a lot of thesis and dissertation here from Netherlands. And then another one, full text archives of thesis and dissertation coming from the universities from Sweden naman. The website is www.diva-portal.org. Right? So diva-portal.org, you can find here publications, research publications, or student thesis, relative to the discipline that you are working or that you are writing. All right? Then, if you are into archival research, we got here a lot of old Filipiniana materials. At yung sinasabi ko sa inyo, this is entitled the Project Gothenburg. To access this archival research of old Filipiniana materials, you can go to www.gothenburg.org for you to access here. So there are a lot of materials here relative to Filipiniana. See? Next, of course, is the e-journals. So the e-journals.ph, we have here the Philippine e-journals. This house, or it has a repository of different premier journals, e-journals all throughout the country. Of course, the number one, the most searched in the Philippine e-journals is the one coming from the Filipino Department of De La Salle, the Malay. Then we also have here from UP Diliman, from Ateneo, from UST, the Hasaan of UST, the the Katipunan Journal, no, and many more. The Dalumat e-journal, you can find it here in the Philippine e-journal. So you can search the journal, the author, or the topic. You can just search it right here, and it will present it to you, the list relative to what you have searched. And of course, the University of the Philippines Open University has been caring to everybody, to all educational experts, leaders, teachers, and students by sharing to us free courses since 2010. Okay, so right now I'd like to share to you the sample or the website of the UP Open University, the University of the Philippines Open University's list of educational resources. As what you can see, you have here this. You can access hundreds of free educational resources made available by the Open Open University. So here you can have here the resources on distance e-learning, webinars conducted, videos of webinars in 2020, on business analytics, general education courses produced in 2020, 2019. You see, it's curated perfectly for our utilization teachers. Modules, book publications, resource-based learning, and many more. So that's how generous the University of the Philippines Open University since 2000, in providing to us an OER here in our country. So more than anything else, of course, the very purpose of the OER is to help teachers and learners to have a successful completion and attainment of the learning of a particular target skills, knowledge, and competencies. And as I end, of course, this discussion this evening, I'd like to share this beautiful quote coming from George Carus. It says, technology will not replace great teachers, but technology in the hands of great teachers can be transformational. And if we really want to see educational transformation, then it's about time that we teachers must place into our hand the advantages of technology that we are confronting. Because whether we like it or not, the propagation of technology into our lives is already intertwined in the very DNA of our educational setup. And with that, thank you very much to everybody, and I hope you learned a lot from our discussion about the open educational resource. And as my closing message to everybody, of course, teachers, we must happily use this free OER for the purpose of the development of our learners, for our country, and of course, to God. Thank you very much at mabuhay po tayong lahat.